Hey everybody, welcome to Mega Hangoutlander. This is the biggest Hangoutlander of all time. It's going to last forever. We have way too much to talk about. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. We don't normally talk about 3 episodes of Outlander at once, but that's what we're doing tonight. 3, 408, 409, and 410. We all want to die. This is terrible. It's not our fault. Stars' fault. They shouldn't have put 2 of the biggest episodes of the entire season smack dab in the middle of the Christmas holidays. But they did, and we didn't want to do Hangoutlander, so we're doing it tonight. So we apologize already for the large amount of things we have to talk about and how they don't really go together. But it's interesting because we're going to find out that these episodes don't go together because we're going to be talking about things that are just wildly different. Like wildly. It's going to be crazy. Hello, I'm Beth. I'm having a LaCroix. My husband just made me some lovely cinnamon toast I'll be eating when I'm not talking. And everybody else needs to introduce themselves. Also, if you're talking to us on Twitter, use the hashtag Hangoutlander. If you're on the YouTube chat, hey guys, I can see you. We'll talk to y'all through there. Becca, say hello.
Hello, my name is Becca. I'm not getting my hair cut. I'm cosplaying. You can guess who I'm being. I have a big bowl of popcorn because I've had 4 margaritas since I left my computer. And I'm not drinking anything but water, which is a great idea. So I'm glad to be here. Very excited to talk about all the episodes I remember very many details from.
Yes. Nikki, say hello.
Hola, hello. We are back for the longest Hangoutlander ever. I'm drinking a whiskey because it's 5:30 in California. And who doesn't want to drink and have some nuts and talk about, oh, I'm wearing plaid. I have
Yes.
These. Okay. Let's talk. Tweet
Awesome.
us with hashtag Hangoutlander. I'll be looking at it.
Courtney, say hello.
Ciao. It's Courtney. I am actually drinking because it's 3 o'clock in Italy, so why not? Like in the morning. I am drinking Monferrato Rosso. It's a 2016. It's one of my favorites.
That sounds pretentious as hell, but okay.
It's a local. It's a regional wine. I'm sorry.
Whatever. We have good water here in Tennessee.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
And beer. Yeah. And that's it. I have a lot to say as usual.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us all the way from Italy. Amy, say hello.
Hey, I'm Amy. I'm half paying attention because the Clemson game is on and we are playing in the national championship game. And I pull for Clemson because I went to Clemson, and that is some shade at people who pull for teams of schools that they did not go to.
How about people who went to schools and they don't pull for those teams either? What are they
That's
like?
fine. I appreciate your consistency. Either be true to your school or watch NFL.
Don't be a Walmart fan.
Awesome. The Eagles.
I don't know what that means. I have no idea what any
Just buy the
sports
t-shirt.
We won the Super Bowl.
I don't know.
Yes, you did. You won the Super Bowl. The
We should never talk about sports.
Never.
Okay, before we forget, tonight we have my hair looks terrible this short. I should
It's
never.
amazing.
I kind of like mine in this little bloop.
Yours looks cute.
Yeah, with your haircut, it looks good.
If you guys
Yeah,
haven't
like
noticed, we have a little
rolled
homage
it.
going on.
Yeah, we're cosplaying tonight. If you guys can guess what we are, you might win our special prize, which I'm going to tell you about. We have a mega prize tonight. Okay, let me start from the beginning. You are going to get a copy of Entertainment Weekly.
Oh my God. I don't have that copy.
Really? Okay, and you can also win a copy of Entertainment Weekly with Jamie on the cover. Look at how handsome and sexy he looks. And then you could put those copies in your tote bag.
Oh.
Your Comic-Con exclusive tote bag. However,
Ooh.
those are all shitty prizes. They go together, though. You're going to win them regardless. Here's the real prize. If you remember, they had a print shop set up. Print shop? In Fraser's
No, Fraser's Ridge.
I was like,
Fraser's Ridge.
Wrong season.
Last season.
Fraser's Ridge, but they had a guy doing printed things. He made us luggage tags, and you could request things, and you could have your 3 initials put on them. However, because we're bitches, we asked for more. And so we requested this luggage tag. You can't see it because it's backwards. That's
No, it's not backwards. It's just backwards for you.
Got it. Just for me. JAMMF. James, Alexander, Malcolm, Mackenzie, Fraser. We made this just for you. So if you are watching tonight, you could win this luggage tag that you can put on your luggage so everybody knows deep down you're a huge nerd. It's very special. Because people behind us were like, I want that tag. And they're like, no, you can't have it. So we're the only ones who got this. So.
That's right.
Yeah. So just interact with us tonight. Talk with us. Tell us how much you like our hair and breaths. And
I love
something
how
funny.
thirsty Entertainment Weekly is for Outlander because my friend subscribes and she gave me the year-end issue, like the 2018 best, and the cover was a collage of all the shit. And I knew everything on there, I think, except the one that I didn't know. I think was Riverdale. I'm just assuming that's what it was because I'm not
Probably.
a teenager. But like they had Outlander on there with like Black Panther and the Jennings, and I was just like, no.
I feel like Stars pays them a lot of money in some sort of advertising, so they're like, the mad cover hookups. But you can own those too tonight, guys.
you could own them in your toe pad with your luggage tag.
If you guys have been watching Hangoutlander, and I went crazy one night when I was slightly drunk about this great swag that we had, and it was really exciting, that was it. So, I mean,
You've been holding on to it for this long.
Yeah.
like, if you don't think it's great, I mean, I'm sorry, it is. Everybody else, you only got 3 initials. They were very specific about that. And I was like, well, can I please have this one with JMMF? And they were like, you're cute. Yes. So let us do it. That wasn't why.
The guy behind us was like, I would like the same thing. And they're like, no.
He was a super fan. He was
Great.
adorable. Huh?
We loved him.
A man super fan?
Oh, yeah.
super
He
fan.
went through like 15 times and got every single product you could get.
He spent the entire day at the Stars booth.
What wife does he have at home that's
He has
part
a
of some
sister.
Outlander fan group?
He has
Aw,
a sister who's into it.
that's sweet.
He was sweet. I liked him.
He got all
Waste
the
of
American
time, but
Gods,
sweet.
all the American Gods pins too, and you can only get 1 pin as you went through, and that took a lot of time. And I was a little jealous of that right
They
there.
got autograph passes. Yeah, he was super fan.
Yeah, he was in it to win it.
I love that we have 3 episodes to get to, and we're talking about things that happened in October.
I know. Do we have anything to talk about, like from the Oscars or whatever the fuck was last night? All Golden Globes. I don't
The
know.
Globes, Kat did not win,
Yeah,
so
she didn't win any fashion awards, nor did she win
no.
actual acting awards.
The only news about Someone,
I liked her dress.
I wasn't angry at it. I didn't hate it.
I loved the color of it. I
Yes.
just love
Color
her.
was
I do love her style. I know that most people hate it.
Beautiful.
I liked it.
What
I
If
like
you
that
had-
she goes for it. I don't think it lands 1 out of 4 times. And I love that her stylist, every person on the worst dress list was also the same stylist.
Yes,
Oh,
always
I
is.
what Vogue chose? It was nothing from her stylist. It was not her. They don't even know who she is.
They did show her during Glenn Close's amazing speech about her mom and how we as women sublimate ourselves to the men in our lives, and because we're nurturers. And she was crying, and she looked so beautiful.
She did
I
look
went,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
she always looks beautiful. She just is not always styled to show that off.
She is so beautiful, and that's what's so frustrating about it. Like, that dress would not look flattering on anyone. I don't care what size you are. I don't care if you're the tiniest person in the world or the largest person in the world. That dress isn't going to work. It's just the weirdest. I don't understand why we're accentuating the area of the bodies that most of us hate.
Well, obviously she's covering up her pregnancy. So
Sam.
yeah,
Clearly with Sam.
she's hiding her pregnancy with Sam from her fiance who was with her with the gloves.
Well, the difference is that Sam came inside of her and her fiance pulled out.
That's right.
Oh.
And that's
the
a
second
nice segue.
That's a segue into the season.
It was a hot topic last night.
What was withdrawal
The
method?
pull out. A lot of us talked about that.
Wow, wait.
How we are victims of the withdrawal method.
Oh,
Oh no.
That means you got pregnant on the withdrawal method, or that's the reason you exist.
Baby
Or
number 1.
both.
My child number 1.
oh goodness. The withdrawal method to me did me lots of favors in high school. So I was a fan. I'm a fan. I think it's fine. But you know, not everybody's the same. Let's talk about Wilmington. Wilmington is episode 408. If you guys can remember, Wilmington starts out with Roger looking for Bree in Wilmington. And before we get into Roger and Bree, because they're the bulk of the episode, let's just talk about other stuff that happens. You see Claire and Jamie with Marsley and Fergus in their little cute little place. And it was super adorable. And Jemaine, I don't know how to say his name.
I always call him Jermaine, reading it.
Yeah, Jermaine is what I say, but obviously he's not applicable to the conversation. He has a name. It's not just the adjective Jermaine. So anyway, they're adorable, but I really wanted to see Jamie holding the baby. Why not? Why not?
He does a good job with it.
Because they make choices that are dumb.
I mean, that would have been a great one. I would have been, what a gift. What a gift that would have been.
Right. And it felt like we hadn't seen Fergus in a while. So when he came out of the print shop, I was like, who is that and why should I care?
Oh, I was happy.
But maybe because I skipped almost all of season 3, I didn't remember what Fergus looked like.
Oh, no.
Well, it's like anytime he appears, you're like, wait, I know. Oh, yeah. He's like a character in this show that we're not seeing anymore, ever.
Yeah.
Except for when he has a cute baby.
Yeah.
Is there more of him in the book? I don't remember, obviously.
Yes, he's supposed to be like making the mash on the ridge and all that.
Do they live there?
On their land,
they live on the
eventually.
ridge.
They eventually moved to the ridge when someone threatens to kill them, I think, because of the paper.
So why do you think they didn't do that? They didn't bring him there.
I don't think they've gotten there to that point yet.
They needed like an easy way to bring what's his name? Jamie and Claire back to the town.
Yeah, probably. I don't love the conversation between Claire and Marsley that they have about like being a mom or whatever. And there's just a couple of reasons. One, it feels like they're using Marsley being a new mother to kind of just highlight Claire's regret about what she did with Bree. But there's no reason for Marsley to say, like, if anybody ever hurts him or anything ever bad ever happens to him, like, I'm going to cut him. Like, that is for what that normally a conversation like that would foreshadow something happening to Jamal, whatever his name is. But nothing is happening. Nothing's going to happen to him unless they're planning something that's not in the book. He's like a non-entity for a long time and he's fine. And so they're foreshadowing this like pain that he might have that's never going to come to fruition. It just seemed like lazy and
it's like they're treating the audience as like we're dumb.
What else is new?
Well,
Season 4.
Why are we thinking that they're actually going
I was about to say they do that every week.
I just felt like they were using Marsley and Claire in this moment for things that weren't necessary. Like the only reason to do that is to highlight the fact that Claire is about to say, yes, you can't always protect your kids. But if you're watching it without any knowledge about what's happening or what's going to happen or what's going to happen to these characters, your thought is imminently something bad is going to happen to that baby.
Well, isn't Jermaine, he's special, right? In the book?
No, he's just a little shit.
I don't know.
He's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Who's the one that's special?
Jem? Mandy?
People on Twitter,
No,
let
that's
us
like
know.
that's like way
One
ahead.
of their babies,
It's Mandy.
I think has
It's
Down
Mandy.
syndrome.
I have something from you too.
Not the one with the heart thing, I don't think.
Okay.
Amy Rose says that it's foreshadowing something from book 8.
No, but see, no, that's too far.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's too far
No
ahead.
one's going to remember that.
That's assuming we're getting to book 8, right?
Here's the
I mean-
thing. I didn't know any of that. So I didn't think that about that conversation. So if you were a
Yes,
farther
for me.
than this book reader, you wouldn't have even caught that. They were just trying to set up like she's
that
a
a-
mom and she's missing her kids sort of moment.
Yeah, it's for Claire to be
So
able
they're
to say,
saying Henry is a dwarf. I don't know what they mean by that.
Yeah. That's right.
all this is,
Henry?
Henri must be their next baby. But
That's right.
But all of that is secondary to the fact that none of that's happening in the show. And they were just using this conversation to say one thing about Claire and Brianna. And it's not helpful and it's dumb and I just didn't like it. Anyway.
It was a time waster.
Yeah. Speaking of time wasters, we've talked about this for too long. We got too much to talk about. So
I literally don't have any idea what you're talking about. So
the governor's house. Okay, this is half of the episode is Jamie and Claire going to the governor's house and going to the theater. And the big surprise in this section was that George and Martha Washington are there. Book readers are up in arms because George shows up in a later book. And the way that Jamie meets him apparently is really cool. And now that's kind of ruined. But I didn't hate George Washington and Martha Washington being there. What were y'all's thoughts?
I
thought it was cheesy.
Yeah,
Who
especially
cares?
the cherry tree thing. I was like, really?
Yeah,
Just
very.
really?
He's like the king, but they call him the president. And woo! Yeah.
And Bree would have a million questions.
yeah,
Wish she was here.
right. It's like, okay, cool, but also like, are you serious? You just met George Washington at a party.
Yeah, but that crap happens in the book. Like he's going to meet Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
I almost said Cumberbatch. Not kidding. Really,
That would
almost
have
said
been
Cumberbatch.
that would be cool
That would have
also.
been cooler than Benedict.
Lin-Manuel Miranda is on the next episode. Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, I would love it if he did a cameo as Alexander Hamilton
I
or
said that
anybody.
I said the play that they were watching was no Hamilton when I was making my notes for that episode. I was like, this play is no Hamilton.
Did
Definitely
any of y'all
wasn't.
see Mary Poppins? This is a total segue, but
Yeah.
his
New
is
one?
his accent atrocious on purpose to kind of
I think it's
be
on purpose.
okay. Like Dick Van Dyke's was so bad.
That's my yes,
Maybe.
that's my opinion.
I mean, the movie was fine. I wasn't
was
over
just-
the moon about
it
it.
was-
It was just okay.
Yeah.
Which was not what I wanted from that movie. So anyway, that's another hangout.
Yeah. But I didn't hate it. I mean, I think it was cheesy. I think Claire talking about cherry trees is super cheesy and obnoxious. But I didn't hate this. I didn't hate that he was there. It didn't bother me. I actually liked the fact that he was like tall and kind of dorky and
And dark hair.
yeah.
White hair. I liked it.
And isn't he super teeny in real life? Like when you go
No,
to
George
Mount.
Washington was like a head above everybody else.
Okay, I
Yeah,
believe you.
he's a
For
big
some
guy.
reason, I thought that the beds at Mount Vernon were small.
Well, they probably
Well,
were, but I mean that he probably just like slept on a tiny bed. But I mean, he was
Fetal position.
he was supposed to be like taller than everybody. It was like one of the things that made people.
Oh,
want him.
like Jamie Fraser's supposed to be? Like they can actually
Yes.
do it with another person? I
That
gotcha.
actually was in my recap of this episode. I took a screenshot of George Washington and I was like, oh, look, someone who's actually a head taller than everybody else in the room. It works.
They could do the bro chin lift.
Yeah.
I was more annoyed that they like shoehorned in a way for Claire to be like the savior of the episode and just kind of waste time. Essentially, like I'm trying to catch up on watch Discovery of Witches, and I was like, oh, they cram all this stuff into 8 episodes. Imagine if this was Outlander, if they weren't given the like bloat of
Yes.
12, 13, whatever it is episodes. This would be so much more fast-paced and exciting.
Yes. Yes.
It
But
was
they would have
like-
to do a lot more adaptation too if they did that.
It would, and that would be good.
Yes.
Instead
yes.
of having a random surgery on a table in a playhouse.
So
But
Somebody
I
that
did
we're
like
never
the
gonna
old
see again.
surgeon coming in and
Yeah.
saying that all he needs is tobacco smoke up his asshole.
I did like that guy being like, what have hell wrought? He's like so upset.
You butchered him.
And she's perfectly pristine in like this cream colored and ivory dress. And like, there's
Yeah.
not a speck of blood on it. It was actually my favorite surgery that she's ever done. Only because it was clean. I didn't have to look at anything super gross. And she's like, "Ugh," and like pushing his
You
intestines back in.
shoved
Yeah.
your hand in his
But
groin.
there's
I was
also
like,
no
"Ugh."
continuity because a couple of times her like little napkin, like I was looking at it as like a restaurant napkin, her like her Red Lobster napkin had fallen off, and then she had to, and then in the next scene it was put back up, and then it had
The
fallen
thing
off.
is they care about detail wise and then they don't.
It's hilarious.
Where is their script supervisor? Seriously, we've said this before. Their script
Honey.
supervisor is asleep.
I'm always looking for employment.
Girl.
Now that all my kids are back in school.
Yes.
She's in the area. She can just zip on up.
So also in this episode, we have Myrta doing this regulator stuff, which again feels like filler, unless it's going to come back to bite them in the butt later on. But my question about Myrta in this episode, is this the first time he's seen Fergus since like 1746?
Yes.
So then how would he recognize him?
In the dark?
Because he said when he got closer, he said like wee lad or Fergus or something, and then they embrace each other. So
They just know each
close
other.
enough. Yeah.
Well, they knew probably because like a letter reached them and told them that they both existed or something.
Well, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, it's
There was a lot-
a problem that's in the books. Like, I don't give a crap about the regulators. There's no stakes there for me. No one that I really care about is involved in anything that's, you know, making me excited or scared.
Yeah, and clearly it's not a high stakes storyline because you don't see it at all for the most part in the next 2 episodes after this.
Right. And
You're
it
just
has
hanging
no
out at the
consequences.
ridge.
Yeah. No
Yep.
consequences for Myrta whatsoever. And I think it would be more
could have
fun
been
if
a cool
Jamie was
lot-
involved.
storyline. Yes, that's what I was thinking. He should definitely be involved for it to be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, like somebody just said on YouTube, like he said, Milord sent me. Like, I know that he recognizes that it's Fergus. I just think that it would be difficult for him to recognize it's his Fergus if he hasn't seen him in like 25 years.
He was a kid, right?
And he would have been a child at that point, and all of a sudden it's the dark in the woods and he's like in the middle of something, and then like there's a Frenchman and and it's just crazy. But anyway,
Totally normal.
that's just
That's
another
normal.
little thing, little picadillo I had about this episode. So let's talk about Brianna and Roger, because they're the rest of this episode and they're the worst. So for those of you who watch and love Brianna and Roger and you're super into their romance, this is, I mean,
You're
as far
wrong.
as I'm concerned, this is not the episode for you. Like, this is of a Hangoutlander. I have no love for them in this episode whatsoever. Nothing that happens with them makes any sense to me. Their romance makes no sense. I don't believe that they're in love with each other. They don't act like they're in love with each other. I don't care. It doesn't make sense. Even the intro to this episode that was like previously on Outlander shows them at the North Carolina thing, which was the only time that they seemed like they liked each other. And it says Brianna, like they show Brianna saying, I'm not ready for this after he asks her to marry him. And then immediately upon seeing each other in this episode, she's okay with getting married. That doesn't make any sense.
She wants to bone within like 2 minutes of running into him.
That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense either.
Yeah.
Is it like just because she's so tired of being alone? She's been scared all this time. She realizes she needs a man in this world. Like, that's not consistent with her character, right?
No.
Well, she does. That's not even consistent with what she does in the rest of the episode, because she sends him away.
Right.
She doesn't think she needs a man.
Yeah, I love that. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
I said, I love that initial meeting where she's like, oh my God, it's someone I know. This world is crazy. I just spent 6 to 8 weeks on the wide open seas. Life is wild. You're someone I know, and I'm someone I really love. And then from there, it's like, wait, you didn't really earn this yet.
Mm-mm. Like,
Well,
she
do
would
you
have had the
think
same
part of
reaction
their-
seeing. Sorry. She would have had the same reaction seeing Gail. You know what I mean?
Who's Gail?
Her roommate.
Oh, okay.
Like, anybody that she knew from the real world,
Yeah.
anybody she knew, period, could have come through the stones and been standing in that tavern, and she would have been like, "It's you."
Thank God.
It didn't make
you.
any sense. They are not in love with each other. It's stupid.
And I would blame it on her inability to act well. But I mean, even in the books, they're not really written to where I feel like they're this love story that I care about.
No, not at all.
And I felt like she was kind of bitchy about the whole, even in, I can't so much remember the book, but she was like, what are you doing here? Not like in an excited, what are you doing here? But like,
Oh, in the book, it's like
Why?
he almost assaults her on the street for wearing pants.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they get in that big
and I'm
fight.
like, look, bitch, he just traveled 200 years through time to come help you, save you, see you because he loves you. Don't be a bitch.
Well, I mean, I get that she's supposed to be really mad at him for doing that. Like, this isn't the plan. You're not supposed to be here. But then if that thread traveled through the rest of the episode and maybe they just fight or whatever, like nothing makes sense. They are like ping pong balls, like back and forth emotionally and like with their own motivations for doing things. It's bananas. Why does he, as soon as he sees her, pulls her outside, they start talking about why he's there. And then she says, because I didn't know how to tell you that I loved you. Number one, no, that's ridiculous. She didn't love him and she didn't have any problem like telling him that. Like, that's stupid. She could have called him. That's really, really stupid. But like, two, then he just like says, you said you love me? And he pulls her around the corner and goes in some shed of some person he doesn't know whose it is or if they're ever coming back. And they just start making out. None of that makes sense. Yeah. This is not a horny time and place. This is a gross time and place where you need like a bath and a toothbrush. This isn't the time to be doing this.
No, and seriously, that's what kept running through my mind. I'm like, when he would touch her face, you can see like the grit underneath his fingernails.
Yes, and he was getting ready to finger bang her.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want that up in me ever. Gross.
And if his fingernails look like that, guess what else looks like that?
Everything. But they both probably are equally stanky. Like there's no.
Yeah, and then he eats her out because he doesn't want to come yet. And it's like
she puts that thing in her mouth.
She does.
Which we just talked about before we went, because he wanted to make sure she was still a redhead down there.
Ridiculous.
Which is insulting. It's insulting to me.
What, Nikki?
I know we want to jump to like talking about them doing it, but him like manhandling her outside the window, I know the point of why that happens, but it was like, why would you do that? You're so excited to see someone, and then he's like just like angrily like pulling her, and it's so over the top.
And that's not in his character.
Right. It was
he's not
because Lizzie then thought that he was a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Which is the setup. That's the setup.
That's the setup. Exactly. We get it. It just doesn't seem Roger-esque.
Yes.
Well,
she lets plot make decisions for characters instead of letting characters decide the plot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
The way this is handled in the book is a lot worse. He immediately jerks her to him in the middle of a tavern. He's like, where have you been? And starts yelling at her. They don't have a lovely reunion in front of a bunch of people. And so he starts jerking her immediately, and it's a lot more forceful in the book, and I hated it. And in the show, they have a reunion, and then they go outside, and what happens is Bree actually first jerks just to get him to stop walking. She's like, wait a minute, what are you doing here? And it looks like she's jerking away from him, but really it's not that. And then the second time he kind of jerks at her, it's the same thing. He's like, what are you talking? I mean, it's more like they're just touching each other a lot and fiercely dealing with one another. And it just looks that way to Lizzie. I actually preferred the way they did it in the show, and I thought it wasn't bad. It could have been a lot worse. I just didn't like anything he was saying to her, but I don't think that, I don't know. I didn't think that the jerking looked that bad. It was because my imagination of what happens in the books is far worse.
Mm. So some comments from the YouTube, because there's some really good ones. I'm going to just read a bunch. I put out the question in all caps because I'm drunk. Who is fan Bree Roger? And Jenny Naylor said the writing made her sound so horny that she was willing to marry him, and that was it. And then Marita said the relationship was bad in the book, but absolutely terrible in the show. If the writers think they're going to turn these two into the big new couple, they're wrong. They're going about it the wrong way. Candace says she's a fan of book Bree Roger, but the show does a shitty job at their relationship. Amy Rose likes Bree Roger in the books and just Bree on the show, does not buy them as a couple. Nina says, I can't understand how they randomly go into a room and are like, cool, let's promise each other ourselves, and then let's promise ourselves to each, and then bone quick.
Yeah.
And Meg said she's a huge fan, but disappointed with them. And then Amy says she actually thinks that was Murtaugh's blacksmith shop, which, okay, there you go. But
he didn't know that. They don't know that.
If so, even worse.
His blacksmith shop is not in Wilmington. It's in Williams Creek. So, bah.
There you go. And then Jeanette says, in the books, the smells are described to detailed. It's nasty. You're not going to be able to go down anybody that hasn't recently taken a bath.
Well, part of the problem too is that Roger is so homely looking and unattractive that he just looks worse and worse every episode. I, as a viewer, could go along with it if I wanted to bang him. Be like, I totally get it. But he just looks mousy, and the pelt of hair, and he's doughy, and he's just not a hero.
We
but I
gotta
feel
talk
like-
about it. It's that fucking awful long-haired wig that he somehow
So
grew
bad.
this beautiful mane of hair on the ocean right over where he ate nothing of vitamins. And now he has all his hair, and then they shoot him sitting down like this angle, so you see his like dad bod,
Mm.
and then he's laying down. It's like that IKEA fur piece just sitting on
It
his
was
chest.
Saucer size.
Y'all, he looks from
Roundy nipple.
like here down. He looks a lot like my husband, but you know, my husband is 40 and has a dad bod because he's a dad.
Yeah.
So it cracks me
I
up
think
when I
the
see
hair was very familiar, but
Yeah, a lot of us
I
like some hair.
On him, I was like, pass.
Exactly. A lot of us like hair, and I think they did a disservice to Rick,
Yeah.
whatever we call him. He's a lovely, hot man in real
Oh.
life.
Mhm.
Especially
And
when
he
he
looked
talks.
like, oh yeah, he's the best. We love him in every panel we've ever seen him in. And
Well,
this was like, ugh.
if we're going to leave the romance talk of Bree and Roger, which we've just established that their wedding is stupid, and really discuss the sex scene, they did him a disservice because this sex scene is 5 minutes and it's 5 minutes too long. Every single second of that sex scene should not be on screen.
But I was super worried at first because the way they started it, I was like, please, Lord, baby Jesus, do not let them just like go pound for pound with the wedding.
But they did.
Yeah.
Abbreviated.
Back and forth.
And
Stop.
I was like, oh.
Everything about
Yeah.
it was exactly like the wedding. They were trying to make it the wedding part do, and
They just didn't
shouldn't
like
have
draw
been.
it out as, yeah.
It's
there's
just
no horse-
I mean, the wedding is longer. There's more
Yeah.
sex scenes in the
There's
wedding.
no horse talk.
But the point is that they show everything from the marriage to the first kiss to the
Yes.
undressing to the first time
Yes.
to the second time to the pillow talk to the third time.
Yes.
To her
agree.
boobs, way too much. Please
Everything-
stop showing them.
It was so gratuitous. She was naked way too much.
Way too much,
Yeah.
especially when you're like showing like oh, it's so
And
frustrating.
it's her first
Showing
time too,
beautiful
so
woman's body and then like dad bod. Like, I'm sorry, if we're gonna show nakedness on all, if we're gonna be equal, like I'm not opposed to seeing nakedness, but I don't know. It was gratuitous. Like I'm
Shoot
cool.
it from here. Shoot it from here up. You don't
I
need
was-
to show us
Nipple.
the boobs.
Even when they're focused on him, it's his shot. Her boob is in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whole boob.
And
It was
during-
unreal.
during that shot, I like heard there was some stuff going on with her boob, but I feel like she might have had a nipple piercing at one point in time because she has some unusual bumps that looked like scars. Just FYI.
Wow, you went a deep dive on her titties.
There's
Yeah.
no
I mean, you
reason.
see them long
I dive
enough,
deep
you
every
could.
time, Amy.
Yeah, there's no reason for us to be able to do a deep dive on Sophie Skelton's body at this
No,
point.
we don't
which
need to.
I just feel bad that they did that. I mean, I don't feel bad for her. She's beautiful. I mean, like put yourself on the screen or whatever. But honestly, that sex scene should not be in the show. It should have ended with them making out in front of the fire after their hand fast and then gone directly to the afterglow scene where you see all his hairy chest and they have the talk. The sex scene was completely not necessary. There was no reason for it. We don't believe that they're in love. There's no good romance. We don't care. They aren't Jamie and Claire. And like I said several times, I think I said this in my recap of this episode. It's been so long, I don't remember. Jamie and Claire, the wedding, the sex has a purpose. The sex in the wedding is not gratuitous because Claire doesn't love Jamie when they get married. She doesn't want to be there. She wants to go home. The sex is something they have to do because they have to do it. And as they have sex throughout that night, they get more intimate and closer. And then she finds herself in love with him at the end of that episode. That's important. Bree and Roger's sex is not important. It has no character building aspects to it whatsoever. And the simple fact that this episode ends with her rape, violent rape, and it also has her naked body for 5 whole minutes on screen. And later there's a second sex scene where still her naked body is incredibly insulting to women and to that character and to, I think, Sophie Skelton. It's just not good television. It's jarring, it's incongruous, and it's not necessary in any way.
Until we start seeing penis on screen, I honestly think I'm gonna have a hard time with seeing naked on screen.
We've seen a penis in this show.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. One penis to all the naked women we've seen. Brian Perkins said that Rick claims that is his own hair.
That's
On
fine.
his head?
On
It
his
still looks
chest
like
or his
shit.
head.
It looks like,
Yeah.
I mean,
On his
my
head.
hair doesn't always look great.
There's no way that's his real hair.
He
But
hasn't
bigger-
had long hair.
There's no way he grew that much hair.
I think
They're
she's
literally not his hair. If he means
And
his
the-
chest, sure.
no.
Totally.
She's saying he's
fine.
it's not a wig.
He's his head.
I
Yeah.
think he's
No, the way-
probably kidding.
Okay. Yeah, he's very sarcastic.
There's
I
no
mean-
Legion.
Maybe not. Maybe he's got extensions and it is his real hair on top.
thinking. Essentially.
I believe that. I don't care about his hair on his head. It looks fine. I felt bad that he was backlit and you could see his butt fuzz. I felt bad for him. They did him no favors.
Yeah.
But yeah, the woman has to be perfect in that screen. Like Sophie Skelton's ass looks amazing, but of course it does. Like that's the requirement to be a naked
Right.
woman on screen.
Right.
Brittany
Well,
said,
also-
sorry, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say we keep seeing the differences between Jamie and Claire and Roger and Bree. Like because I had a few extra minutes on my hand during this holiday season, I went back and watched a few of the original season 1 episodes, and I was like, oh my, it really actually was fun. I was like, oh my God, you really love these characters together. You see a growth of a relationship and it pays off in the wedding episode, which I just watched last night because I was like, what did I just watch on Sunday? And then you go to Roger and Bree and it's just like wham bam, it all happened. And then, it's very just, there's no through line for them. They're not earning it. They're not, developing as this couple. But anyway.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they're not exciting. I'm not into their love in any kind of real way. And when they show Roger sitting naked for the first time, he is literally sitting like he looks like he's on a toilet. And my guttural response was, ew! That's not fair to Richard Rankin, who is very attractive. Like they just made all kinds of bad decisions here.
Yeah, and regardless of whatever he looks like in real life, and I'm sure he kind of was like a little bulkier so he could be skinnier in some of these later episodes, shoot him in a more flattering angle. You work in a magic industry. Like you can do that. He's a gorgeous man.
Y'all
They had some budget cuts for all the
Courtney
green
just
screen.
posted this picture.
I did.
What?
Y'all, that's
It's
normal
good.
has to reach it. It is
Well, just show it. Oh, you can't scroll your screen.
Who is it from? I'll read
It's from me.
Courtney.
It's me.
Oh,
formidable.
the butt. That's
Nasty.
terrible.
Oh,
Here, I just retweeted it. You can see it.
Right.
I tagged y'all in it. Yeah. There you go.
It says,
Candace says she feels like the sex in the book with Bree and Roger is more important because it's something they've been waiting for a year, but the show blew it. It's really dumb.
yeah.
Is that really his butt in the show?
No.
I mean,
no.
it might as well be. No, but it might as
Clearly.
well be.
Why is it like
Yeah.
a big man?
It's a big
super
hairy
horror.
butt. Creedy on Twitter says the show prides itself on being all about the female gaze. So why did they shoot this scene that way? I don't know. We don't know, girl.
I mean, I think that they were trying to do, I know what they're going for. They're going for the parallel of the wedding. That's it. They wanted to parallel them with Jamie and Claire, and it
Way
doesn't
too
work.
much. Mm-mm.
It doesn't
Which
work. 'cause
also
they
is
aren't.
weird. Ooh.
Yeah, it's just gross. I mean, not gross because they're gross, but gross because they aren't in love. The whole reason they're there together having sex right in that moment is weird. All of it's weird. I mean, it's weird in the book, but at least in the book, in my imagination, they're like in a little bitty haystack somewhere. They're not in this big barn with a big fire and anybody could walk in at any time. And they happen to find a bunch of cotton bales to lay on with some fur. The thing was as big as my king size bed. What are they laying on?
Very convenient.
Very
I
convenient.
thought it was a bed at first, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's like a like huge pile of hay bales that didn't."
And they
fill
found
up.
some
It just
pseudo
went out.
clean, like linen to lay on.
Yeah, it looked like, bowl and branch in there. It was ridiculous. I was not into it. So the end of this episode, Bree goes back to the tavern after. Oh, well, we can talk about their fight if you want. Let's talk about their fight. They're stupid. Roger has turned into like some sort of horrible, possessive, like wife hating idiot. I hated him in this episode. I hated everything he said to her. It was ridiculous. But also, you guys are stupid. Why are you fighting about this? Sophie Skelton said the same thing, and I appreciate the fact that she's aware of this fact that they fight about dumb stuff. You fight about dumb stuff, and that makes you dumb and makes me hate you. So anyway, their fight was done.
And also understand the stakes of fighting about dumb stuff. It's one thing like if you huff and you walk away from your boyfriend at the mall.
Right.
It's another thing if you get all huffy and you walk away from.
Right. And they should know better.
Yeah.
Right. She's taken a journey from Scotland to the America. She should know by now that it's not easy to navigate the world in the position that she is. And that's a little, I think that's that has always been a little strange to me, is like, that she hasn't. I feel like any of us would figure that out really on. Like, I am a feminist to the core. I believe that we need to be better and we need to be the powerful women that we are. But the reality is history was not that kind. And so you have to just, to survive and to not be raped and to not do these things, you need to sort of find some way to assimilate. And she just seems to just be thinking that things are cool because her and Lizzie have gotten through this far. I don't know.
Yeah, which barely by the skin of their teeth even, but whatever.
Yeah. And
Well, I mean,
the reasons about her, it's bad about her character is that she's always this hothead and gets them into all of these situations. Very Claire-like, as we already know. Things that could be avoided, and yet she's like, "I'll see you later. Just go back through the stones." Like, it didn't take you this huge, like, you needed some gemstones and you had to traverse the countryside. Like, you're an idiot. Like, run after him and say, "Let's figure this out."
There's so many practical, everyday considerations to what's going on with them. Like, how are you paying for your travel to Cross Creek? What do you need? How can I help you get to where you need to go? There's so many practical considerations. I barely go like to Nashville without talking about 8 different things with my husband before we pack up the car. Like, they have things they need to discuss. It's so stupid. Anyway.
Well, and they're setting her up like Claire too, where they both are smart women and they know better, but they're still making these like irrational idiot decisions.
Yeah, well, Claire isn't right now, thankfully.
No, but it portrays them as like lesser than they actually are. And sometimes that frustrates me.
Agreed. So final scene, I didn't discuss it because I hate it. I hate that it happened. I hate that it becomes the major plot point in the rest of this season.
In my recap this week, of this week's episode, I said watching it was like watching the 1780s, 70s version of The Accused. It reminded me so much of that scene in the New Bedford bar when Jodie Foster is getting gang raped and screaming for help, and everyone's just looking around. And
it
was incredibly hard to watch.
Yeah.
The whole, I talked to you guys about it, like the boots scene, the guy just fixes the boots and just keeps on going. You're just like, oh my God, what's happening in this room? And you're just walking by.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess
it was hard.
About the options they had, because it's an important scene, obviously, for the story moving forward, as we know.
Disagree. Did not have to happen. She does not have to be raped for this whole confusion with Lizzie and being abused and all of that to happen.
She
could have found ways for her to fuck Stephen Bonnet willingly.
Yeah.
Totally.
Even coerced, like maybe he blackmailed her for the ring. It's like, okay. And she said, okay. I mean, I think that there are, it could have been coercive, but not violent.
Yeah. The fact that they keep going back to the sexual violence stuff, like we know it happens in the book, but be better as the adaptation.
And they were asked to be better for over a year by the women who watch Outlander.
Yeah.
And they'll change some things, but this, they were not willing to change.
Also, it doesn't take much of an imagination to change it. I realize that they think Stephen Bonnet is a villain and has to be a villain. And that she does need to have, for some reason, for the rest of the season to work, needs to have some sort of like question of who the father is of this baby. But it is possible for the scene to go on as it goes on, and she goes with him willingly, knowing that the price is going to be sex with him, and it's not It's not violent, because what happens to her, and even though we're only hearing it and not seeing it, but what's happening to her, especially when you put it in conjunction with the beginning of the next episode where you see all of her bruising and all of her blood and all of that stuff, is an incredibly, incredibly violent sexual assault and rape. And the very next morning, other than her looking a little stiff talking to Lizzie, she doesn't have any bruises. She's not walking funny. There's nothing there for someone who just gone through that to still be going through that. Now, granted, she's trying to find Roger and all of this other stuff, but she goes, we're going to head into like a really emotional kind of uplifting episode, and they aren't dealing with her trauma in any kind of realistic fashion. She has no bruising on her face, but her nose was bleeding profusely. He smacked her across the face. She's not even red. So they're not really dealing with trauma the way that they like to say that they are, just by talking about it later on in other ways. And so I would have preferred it not to be there at all. And I'm sorry that it is. And I hate that it is. And I want them to do better and be better. And I totally understand people who are like, I'm done with this show and I'm not going to watch it anymore. I don't blame anybody for feeling like that.
Candace said it was a flashback in the book. It could have been a flashback in the show. That would even have just changed a little bit rather than being so present. Yeah.
Yeah. Also because they're putting it in the episode where she loses her virginity and it's supposed to be romantic and lovely. So yeah.
Like back to back, scene to scene.
Yeah. That's true.
What did they say? I'm trying to remember after the episode. Didn't they talk about this? I can't even remember. And I was just like, guys, come on.
It's all BS and filler on after the episode anymore. It's not even, sometimes I'm like, I can't even listen to this. It's stupid. They're just making excuses for mistakes that they've made.
Mm-hmm. That really is what they do. Or they'll talk about like some little tidbit that we thought this would be so cute. And like, they're trying to throw a thread, like pull a thread together between one thing and one thing, but it's like the dumbest thing ever.
Well, especially like when we get to 410, after the episode for 410, which I'm sure we'll talk about, it's
I didn't watch it. I never watched it. I rarely watch those.
Lucky you.
Okay.
I do, because I want to see how they're going to apologize for what they did.
Okay, so let's go on to the birds and the bees, which I hate the title of this episode. Oh, so dumb.
I agree.
Because it tries to like make light of rape in my mind. Like, oh, this is how you get a baby. Like, it's just felt a little too twee to me. I mean, I get that there's multiple implications for it, but
the birds and the bees.
They even
go ahead.
I was going to say, they even, speaking of after the episode, they literally talk about the title. And they're like, Brianna looks at some birds. I was like, come on, guys. Like,
and they went bee hunting. Oh, no.
Wait, before we really move on, I have to just say out loud the tweet that one of you retweeted. From Honey Lips, Fraser, saying, a crock of shit. I haven't gazed on anything to make me moist since the first shirtless Sam season. I'm tired of this hair all season. At this point, show me an ass crack or ankle or anything.
Exactly. If I were to create a group on Twitter called Horny, I would put Honey Lips in there. That woman is a delight.
Pure delight. I agree.
You don't need to put Honey Lips in the group called Horny. She needs to just be the group. The whole group. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Birds and the Bees begins. Oh, we lost Becca. I'm sure she'll be back. Birds and the Bees begins. And at the very least, Roger, the world's most horrible husband, tries to come back for her. So at least he's not leaving her alone. But that's the only redeeming feature he has in this episode. That's all I have to say about it.
They have done a good job, maybe by actually showing him being a horrible rapist and making Stephen Bonnet seem like a villain who's not. In the books, I feel like she kind of tries to play that line of, he's a villain and a rapist, but you still kind of find him hot and sexy. To me, is completely repugnant. So the actor and the writing in that part, good for them, because he's gross to me.
Yeah, like we've talked about how the rape scene in the book with him is titillating. She wrote it to be titillating, and that's obnoxious. Say hello to Hazy. But anyway,
Hazel,
Hazel,
my favorite.
So Bree finds out that he's gone. He's left on the Gloriana. She thinks he's gone back to Scotland as she asked him to or told him to. But one thing I noticed in this part of the episode is she says the engraved thing that's on her bracelet that I love you a little, I love you a lot, I love you not at all, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a romantic thought.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's
No.
so stupid. What is it even from? Did he write it? Is it
It's
from
from
like
a
William
poem.
Blake or something?
It's some like kids poem, kind of like
Like
the
the Little
whatever
Prince?
just like a little kids poem. And I was like, that isn't very romantic. Like, come on.
Not at all. And she's saying it like, anyway, it's supposed to be all like he left me, whatever, he loves me not at all. But I don't care. I hate that. I think that's dumb. But we go directly to Jamie peeing behind the place and her finding him. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I cried my eyes out
It was
the whole
great.
time.
That was one of the best scenes of the season. Thank you, Sam. Thank you,
Yes.
Sam, for bringing that.
Yes, I think it's Sam's scene for sure.
I do, for sure. And I think he, yes, you can win that. I think I think Katrina gets a lot of, it's her show and she's the one who's nominated. I really feel like they've missed the boat on some of his really great moments this season and some of the last season as well.
Yeah.
I think
Sam Shipper.
Yeah, I think in my old age, I'm getting like OCD because while the moment was beautiful, when I watched it again, I'm like, he was just holding his penis peeing and now he's touching her face. And I couldn't get that out of my head.
I thought the same thing. I was like,
You've never
"Ew,
had your man get up and go whiz and then come back to bed and get busy? Come on, you're all
My man
lying.
washes his hands.
Not my dad.
Oh, washing the hands. Not my
You win tonight, Courtney. Would you like that luggage tag?
I would. I never get to go to Comic Con.
That was really funny.
Yes, I love you.
Clearly, I should drink more often.
That was great. But it's still perfect. I don't care. I wasn't thinking about his pee hands.
No. It was
No.
it was beautiful. Like I said, the first time I was so wrapped up in the moment, I didn't. But the second time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, it's just like.
I don't know. I was crying. And I was aware that like Sam, this is the first time I noticed that Sam looks aged up because her skin is so porcelain and he all of a sudden looks rugged and aged. And I believe the 20 years between them or 25 years or whatever. I believe that completely at this point. And I haven't believed that at all since Claire came back through the stone. So
There's something they've done different to her. Honestly, I think they like even from when she was in the modern times. I think she looks way younger and more innocent.
maybe it's the curly hair.
Yeah, might be that.
Mhm.
And the random makeup. Maybe we can talk about that for the next episode. Like she had eyeshadow and all this stuff on in the
No.
410. I was like, what?
Yeah. So Claire's reunion with Bree. I would crack up like the very first shot where Jamie says Sassenach and the camera looks over and they're just sitting on a bench like strangers at a bus stop.
And so I did watch after the episode.
Yeah,
That was in the book.
Apparently that was important to them.
Why?
Meryl goes
It
off
was
about
in the
how important that they were sitting on a bench. And I was like, I literally just read that book like a month ago and don't remember them being on a bench. You guys pick the wrong things to invest in.
But they're
Who
on a
gives a
bench.
shit about a bench?
Aren't they on a bench in Fraser's Ridge when they meet?
Yeah,
They're not in
we're
Wilmington.
definitely
They're not
not,
in town.
definitely not in Wilmington. I was just like, this is like you guys not getting it.
They
ever.
absolutely don't get it. Like, I'd love to see what's underlined and highlighted in their books. It's probably like all of the stuff that we skim and hate. They're like, yes, Diana.
And you know they
go.
think they're so clever. Like they think that they're making Americans level television when they're really just making Stefano DiMera Days of Our Lives television.
I mean, it is telenovela. You're absolutely right. The next episode is 100% soap opera.
Telenovela, yes.
But yeah, I love that. I loved her seeing her. I love her shock. But I wanted to live in the moment a little bit more when of Claire seeing Jamie see her. Like there just wasn't enough. Like there's this shock that she's there, and there's this love, and she holds her for a minute. But I just missed like the connection between Claire seeing Jamie see her, and there was nothing said, and I just thought that was missed opportunity. I wanted to see her.
There's a couple comments. Jenny Naylor says that Diana wrote an entire explanation about why his hands are clean.
Of course
No.
she did.
Is this kind of like the Hogwarts explanation about how all of the wizards would just shit themselves and they can just really quickly clean it up? That's what Jimmy Fraser does.
And then apparently they are on a bench in front of their house on the ridge, and people are wondering and wishing that there was ridge shit, because we always live for that ridge shit.
Ridge shit.
Uh-huh.
We just got multiple tweets about people saying that they really appreciated the bench. So
Seriously?
I didn't even remember that. We just
All right.
got it.
I mean, I remembered it, but it's not the important thing. The important thing is like him peeing and her and then him saying like I'm a merit man. Like all of that is way more important to me than where they're sitting when they could have been standing there. Anyway, real dumb. But let's continue talking about this episode. I love the second half of this episode because I love watching Jamie fall in love with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jamie so much. I hate that Jamie was robbed of being a father. And so this episode made me incredibly happy in lots of ways. But that was the main one. Thoughts?
In my rewatch of some of the few episodes, I was like, oh my God, I really love this character. Jamie is a good guy.
Yeah.
He does some dumb shit occasionally, but he's a really good character. And this was like such a nice payoff moment for him. I just wanted like a nice episode of like feel good, ridge shit, family togetherness, like that table and the food, like the sort of faux Thanksgiving thing. And then, they just have to keep ruining it. But
I could have lived in that world. I could have lived with them hunting and bringing home spoils of their hunting to Claire. I could have lived in that world for a while.
Yep. So for people that are asking me what Bob is he was just right there staring at something. I don't know. So if you see someone walk in and start to murder me, that's what's happening, because he's freaking me out.
What if
it's not the ghost in the hall?
Yeah. What if in one of these episodes we saw a ghost in one of our houses? That'd be crazy. Because yours looks like there could be a ghost back there for real.
Someone, the former mayor of Newport, Mayor Shea, died in this house.
What?
That's terrifying.
There's been a couple of people dying in my house too.
Oh yeah.
My house has been here since the 1860s, so I have to.
Your house is older than my house.
Someone's still in there for sure.
I don't think anybody died in my house. It was built in 1993. Hence this chair rail. But
mine's the 30s.
Mid-90s loved a chair rail in the dining room, man.
Loved it.
Did. At least there's not one all over the house. Remember when people were putting them in every room and then putting like red on the top and mustard on the bottom?
Yes.
My parents' dining room.
Trading spaces.
Not anymore, but
so Brianna tells Claire that Frank knew that she goes back to Jamie in this episode, and I would just like to pause and say Frank is trash. I love you, Tobias. I hate you, Frank. What a dick.
And why does she have to call him daddy? That is so creepy.
It is weird.
I hate when grown women call their father daddy. It's daddy. Just odd to me. Yeah, but it just feels also just like, yeah, he's your father, but you keep like, this is your literal biological father. I know that there's like difference there. It just feels like a slap in the face every time she says that.
She says it.
She's doing it on
Jamie.
purpose.
Like really sensitive.
And she pronounces it so much. She's very, it stands out. She's like, my father.
Yes. Daddy.
Daddy.
And I feel so bad for Jamie. He's so in love with her and he's having to be so cautious. Like he can't even joke around with her when they're talking about her being a disturbance or whatever. He can't like say what he would normally say. He's censoring himself so that her feelings aren't hurt. And just, he can't even act like himself. So she can't even get to know him because he's trying so hard not to spook her. And it just sucks. I feel bad for him the whole time. Sucks.
Yes.
Let's talk about Claire's reaction to finding out that Brianna was raped, because that will make me cry every time I see it. I don't care.
So good.
I don't care how many times I don't care if I end up hating this show forever. That scene would make me cry for forever. The only thing that could have made me cry more is if they focused more on Brianna's face when they're hugging and crying, and she had
Yes.
like been saying "mama, mama, mama," like "help me," like because a baby saying like "mama, help me" would have been like the worst thing that ever happened. So they should have done that. But anyway, that would have destroyed. But that scene was so good. Katrina was so good, and again, every single time she has to explain what happened to her. Every single time something else comes up, she's going to have to talk to Roger about it probably. Like there's just a lot. It's going to come up so much. And every time they talk about it, because they do it again in 410 with Jamie, it's traumatic all over again. It is re-traumatizing, people who are triggered by things like that all over again. And it's traumatic for the audience every single time. So that's why this particular plot point would have been better had they not done it, because we wouldn't be dealing with this like re-traumatization in every single episode in more than one scene.
Well, yeah, and not everything that happens in real life makes for good television that you want to watch.
Yep.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Like, there's a reason that I can't stand watching anything about like the Vietnam War or the Gulf War or when we invaded Iraq. Like, because to me, there's no happy ending there. So it's just like, I know this is real, but I don't want to watch that stuff. It's why I love World War II shit.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, if somebody sends me, you have to watch this, you'll cry so hard, or like, this is guaranteed to make you cry. I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I don't watch that stuff.
Like Dumbo? I ain't gonna go see that, fools.
No way.
Never see
Ain't
that
no
movie.
way.
No thanks.
I will definitely
Nope,
do that.
No.
This Is Us.
Nope.
People talking about watching This Is Us. I'm not watching that trash.
I don't watch that.
I don't need to be manipulated. No, thank you.
I had to stop.
I don't want to see that. I didn't watch Stepmom. I don't watch movies that are guaranteed to make me cry. No, thank you.
Oh, Stepmom is so bad. You'll be screaming at the screen. You just want Susan Sarandon to finally fucking die in the end. Like, ugh.
I mean, something has to have like a major hook. It has to be Titanic with Leo for me to watch it, knowing that the lead character is going to die, or it's going to manipulate my emotions. It has to have a major hook in it for me to be like, yes, bring it on. Like Sense and Sensibility. It has to be Jane Austen, written and directed by Emma Thompson, for me to like forego my tear ducts to it.
Yeah.
Like Schindler's List. I know that Nazis are going to die and lose in the end. Like, there's some payoff.
Anyway, so Claire tells Jamie what happened to Brianna. And I love Sam's reaction. He just like moves in a circle. Like, it has all this movement and this kinetic energy, but like nowhere to go, like nothing to do with it. And I thought it was really well acted. And then he just stands there and has no reaction. And it's not about him. Like, he has a reaction, but the reaction isn't about Jamie's pain when he first finds out. And I really love that. I thought that was a super good choice. It changes immediately, but I really did think that was a good choice.
I agree. I think that it wasn't about him for sure, and they could have totally made it about him the way they've been writing this season. But I think a lot of it was his daughter that he's clearly falling in love with, and then B, he has this empathy for what she's going through that not a lot of people can share with her. And so just the way they filmed it, like you said, with him walking in a circle, kind of like a caged in, and he was just trying to get out of his head. And then everything after that, for once they did it some justice.
Yeah, I agree. And then Roger gets a flippin' beat down. We haven't really talked about Lizzie and the fact that she looks like Darcy Carden a little bit, but her name is Caitlin O'Ryan, is the actress that plays Lizzie, and she's good. Lizzie's supposed to be like a little girl. She's supposed to
not
be
an Amazon woman.
Lizzie's supposed to be Joni, essentially.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's supposed to be prepubescent almost, and like the fact that she isn't is ridiculous because her naivete is overwrought. I don't believe that this woman is that naive. especially because she's astute about Brianna. She's aware that she's sick. She's aware that she was raped. She's aware that she's hurting. She knows what's going on. And so for her to be that naive about everything else, like the fact, even just the simple fact that Jamie's going to go beat this person down, she acts like she didn't think that was what was going to happen. I don't believe that because she's a grown woman.
It's a continuity thing again. Again, they just can't carry on. We know that she understands these things, but they're not carrying it through in the character line.
Right. And Lizzie is kind of Brianna's first introduction to motherhood because she feels protective of her and has to do all of this stuff. And so we're losing all of that because the girl's bigger than she is. It's real dumb. But how did we feel about Jamie's beating up of Roger? I'm going to tell you real quick because I like to talk. That I think the first time I saw it, I thought it was way too much. His face was beaten to an absolute complete pulp. And
it was a close-up of the face at times. You're like, okay, this is insane. He didn't get one word out.
He kicked him in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I had to fast forward it. It was making me uncomfortable.
It's the like boob version of like what they do to men. Like they show. So,
women show their tits. Guys get the shit beat out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was way too much. Now, the second time I saw it, I remembered how much I hated Roger, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, but I feel like not to be like an in the book person, but like at least it's a little more fair where they're both on their feet and they're like going after each other. This was just gratuitous, like shit kicking essentially. It was gross.
Yeah. It just it stops you from all of the good feelings you've had about Jamie the whole episode, kind of the fall to the pit of your stomach in that scene. And it changes. Now, if you think about the fact that he's probably experiencing all kinds of blood rage and all kinds of like PTSD from his own rape and the things he wishes he could have done to Jack Randall had he been helpless in the woods, and and then also protecting his wife and his daughter from this person who would try to come and steal them and hurt them. And like, there's so much going on that you kind of, talk amongst yourselves.
There is a lot happening that I remember very clearly.
Yeah. I don't know what train of thought we were going on. I finished all of that whiskey.
I'm half watching the Clemson game because we're up 28-16.
And none of us are paying attention except
I am. Amy, I'm paying attention too because I hate Bama.
Good. Alabama can kiss my ass.
Yep.
Okay, my dogs are done barking. Would we like to go back to Outlander now?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry. I don't know what their deal is. Something's outside.
They've literally never barked.
The ghost
from Amy's
of
house.
whatever died in your house watching 90210 in 1994.
Oh, God.
Stop. I can't spit on my wine.
I think a murder happening in the 90s is a lot spookier than what happened in like the 1700s or whenever y'all's houses were built. Yikes, spikes. What if that happened?
It is weird that like Jamie is obviously like a powerful man and like he's killed people, but it's always been in battle, right? Like he killed people out of revenge before?
Well, he didn't kill him.
It's not the right word. You know what I mean? Like out of
just out of anger, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's never been just a butt kicking. It's like always been like a duel.
Yeah, it does.
But in my head, as a mom of 3 daughters and my husband who is a former Marine, I'm like, oh man, what if that was our kid? And their godfather is he was in the Army too. So I can't even imagine what they would in their heads be thinking that they would like to do. Granted, they're law-abiding citizens and contributors to society, so they wouldn't, but they would probably want to do something very similar to what Jamie did.
Also, had it been Stephen Bonnet, you wouldn't feel that way. Like, had it been, you know what I mean? Like,
True.
It is a case of mistaken identity. And if Stephen Bonnet had been there.
Jenny says it's almost out of character for him to not make sure that absolutely this person is the right person.
True.
Right? Like, just to
I agree.
This like naive woman is a little bit strange.
Well, the whole storyline is convoluted, and we know that. But
Becca, your hair is distracting the shit out of me.
I love it.
It's not nice. It's not.
Looks like two ponytails.
Oh gosh. Anyway, I hope that. Carrie Creedy said. It's Creedy_B said the fight in the book was more even, and Roger even compares it to a few pub fights he's been in. But who's going to buy show Roger being evenly matched with this Jamie when it comes to muscles and brute strength?
Nobody, because we just saw him naked.
It's a very good point, Creedy.
And that's a nice little critique of how they've been portraying Roger, who in the book is pyrotesque and big and strong and capable. And this Roger is, the Pillsbury doughboy. And I don't mean that as a body shaming. That's just how he comes across.
I think they're just very much portraying him as he is not the outdoorsman, man of all men that Jamie is. He is history professor, totally different life than Jamie did. So they're like almost the antithesis of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think they're trying to make it obvious. Like they want the glow up to be obvious later. Hopefully there's going to be a glow up of him being this like, huge burly. I'm hoping. Now I'm like, don't even know. We only have a few episodes left.
I doubt it. Let's be real. That's not going to happen. Don't get your hopes up.
He should be very cut by the end of this whole thing.
Manage your expectations, guys. Manage your expectations.
Oh.
Probably not going to happen. Shallon just said, hi, Shallon. Shallon's our good friend. She said killing Dougal wasn't in battle and in a lot of ways was in anger and protection of Claire. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar. They can't let Dougal leave that room. And it is kind of like him lashing out and killing him. But I think it was more straightforward. This is like super duper kind of out of rage. And
Mitzi Vintage Goddess on YouTube comments said, I laughed when Roger was like, hey, any directions? And Jamie just started charging at him. But he was walking pretty quickly when he didn't even get a punch in. And it was like, he's just so eager. He's like, oh, it's just awkward.
Yeah. He portrays him a little more, eager than he is in the book, it seems.
Yeah. Because in the book, there's the confusion of the name because Brianna keeps calling him Wakefield, and then there's the whole Mackenzie aspect of it. So when he comes up, they're like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Mackenzie. And then if he had just said, I'm Roger Wakefield, he wouldn't have beat the shit out of him in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how this whole book goes. If people would just for like a minute give an actual explanation, which maybe it was just in 410, like get to the point, like stop dancing around it. Just say what the issue is and say who you are.
If Bree and Roger had stopped and had a conversation
right
after boinking, they would have like avoided all of this as well. But that's too hard. So let's talk about 410, which I don't remember a whole lot of because I didn't recap it. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Amy did good.
That was great.
Good job, Amy.
Somebody tell me what happens in this episode.
Well, it's named after something which has nothing to do.
Yeah.
They like have
As we learned.
There's been some discussion that I've been seeing on Twitter today about how they really hated the scene with the kind of the opening scene where Jamie uses physical force to prove to Brianna that she couldn't have fought off Stephen Bonnet, that it was, re-traumatizing a trauma victim. So for a show that talks about how they want to deal with trauma, they show the worst ways to deal with trauma. And they're showing it being as like successful. Of like, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah. And it happens in the book, and I thought it was stupid then, and I thought it was stupid on the show. But I mean, in the after they talk about that in the after the episode, they're like, that was a quick way to show her that she wasn't going to be able to change anything about her situation. Sure, but
show
also
that woman
unnecessary.
good. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, it was like obviously I'm watching and I'm like, oh, like a dad-daughter combo about a rape. Like, I mean, it's just so much. Like, obviously I'm glad they had the moment, but also, the power dynamics. I mean, I get it. I get why he was doing it. I like that they both had a thing that they could talk about together. And like, she just like asked him questions that he's probably never been asked before, let alone by his daughter. I don't know.
But because she already knows and then he already knows. I don't see why that was even necessary to put on screen. Like, they could have just gotten past all the physical parts of it. And I mean, look at him. He is a very physical man, and he couldn't or wouldn't or didn't for her mother. So I feel like it was unnecessary again, considering they both were well aware of the other situation.
And it's so physical what he does to her. I mean, not that they had thumb war back in the day, but he could have just beaten her like in a thumb war game and shown her that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there have been times where Ryan and I are like play fighting, and my dog, I swear. So we're like play fighting, and I'll like get a punch in or whatever, and he will literally just, I'm sorry. He'll just grab my wrist, and I literally won't be able to get away. I can't do anything anymore because his whole paw is just holding me there. So you could have done that.
On the YouTube comments, Purely Amused said she was glad they toned it down in the show. In the book, he gets behind her and like bends her over the fence. It's super creepy and sexual.
Yes.
I remember that.
That is one of the weirder things about Jamie Fraser is he has this like, why does he do shit like that? And I've never understood why he's like that. He does it all the time. Does stuff like that all the time. It's weird.
Because the person who envisioned him is weird.
Probably. Yes, that's probably. I didn't love that scene. I haven't said what I thought about it, but I forget what he's doing because there's that whole scene where he really does think that she wanted it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was where he was going in the book. And I thought that's where he was going when he started talking about it. And I was pissed that he was being so direct and horrible to her and like emotionally abusive to her about it. Because I felt like when I read that scene in the book, I didn't want him to say that, but also he was like trying to coax it out of her. He was like more gentle. And because it wasn't happening that way, I was freaking out. I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And then he does the like switcheroo and I was like, oh God, fine. But I was so irritated at that point that I was unhappy with what was I was just unhappy with it completely. And again, it's re-traumatizing. It's another way for them to do that. But
when I was,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was necessary. It's a necessary scene. Like they have to do it.
When I was tweeting, I was like, I remember saying, seriously, is this a dream sequence? Please tell me this is like a dream sequence. Because I was really hoping they weren't going to do that. But they went there and they did it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we got another dream sequence, which again.
I hate dream sequences.
Yeah.
This show is Days of Our Lives.
The dream sequence is remember that Jamie had that dream sequence with Jack Black. Jack Black would have
Jack Black the
actor.
Black Francis, like I can't remember who I'm talking about. So anyway, that happens and they're doing it with this as well. Again, having Stephen Bonnet on top of her, another scene. It's they're doing it again. And why have the original scene in Wilmington be like where they don't see it and you just hear it and they're trying to say, but they're gonna show it to another episode later.
I don't like honest question. Are there women making decisions? Because I don't understand. None of us would decide to do that.
No.
Mm-mm.
Is this like a bunch of dudes being like, we need more rape? I'm asking this question drunkenly.
They don't, and it may be rhetorical. They don't outwardly portray themselves to be like a man-heavy show. They definitely try to lean into the fact that they have female producers and writers and all this stuff. It's like that whole thing with the bench. I just don't think they get it. And I think we've come to that conclusion many times on Outlander, and
we'll see.
Which is sad, and it makes them look contradictory to themselves that they keep saying, we have females doing this and we have female this and that. But it's for as much as it's supposed to be through a female lens, a lot of times it comes through very much as through a male lens, and it does a disservice to the story.
think, like, obviously, I understand we're talking about a time in history that's very different than now. Like, women were not, but we can do this in a way that isn't gratuitous. Like, I don't know what that answer is, but that's not my job.
Yeah.
And I just, they're not doing it. They really aren't. This show, every time I watch it, I'm like, well, another man was involved. Another old dude in a suit in the New York office decided to cut a scene and asked for more of another thing. That's exactly what I did.
But you think about the people, the caliber of women writers who were clamoring to write about and recap this show in the first season. I mean, Roxanne Gay was saying, someone hired me to recap the show. I love it. Nicole Cliff started recapping it for Vulture. And now neither one of them even watch it anymore, I don't think, or at least don't tweet about it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just fallen off the rails. And I don't know if that's like, again, we've talked about this a million times, like, is Ron gone? Candace Michelle just said on, actually, your name is probably Candace. That's your whole name. Anyway, Candace just said on the YouTube thing that episode 8 and 10, so Wilmington and then this one were written by the same man. And she feels that he totally glorified it. And she's right. I mean, I didn't realize they were written by the same person, but that's where it's the most glorified of those 2 episodes. So yes, absolutely. And then Kissed by Fireworms said that we might see more of the rape scene because Sophie says she filmed the entire scene. I know that she filmed the entire scene. They filmed it from inside the room. She did a lot of research into like the shock of what your body goes through and all of that kind of stuff. I know that they filmed the whole scene.
Why?
Why? I don't think that they knew what
You
they were
don't
going
need
to
to
do
film
yet.
that.
I don't think they knew what they were going to do yet.
Yeah.
And I think we will see more of it. I think we'll continue, like we'll see flashbacks or we'll see more of the kind of stuff we saw in this episode. I don't think that they're going to be done with it yet because she's not done with Stephen Bonnet, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Creedy B just said on Twitter, it's like they're trying to show rape in as many ways as humanly possible, all of which are horrible.
Yeah.
Which is almost, I mean, if we want to call them out on something.
Yeah, like, again, I've seen multiple people say, like, well, rape was just commonplace back then. Like, that doesn't mean that
it's an
rape
excuse.
Rape is commonplace today.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It looks a little different than like bar room, a little bit, not that much, but it looks a little different. People turning an eye in a bar, right? Like, as obvious as that, but that doesn't mean that we don't like let's stop making it a thing. I don't know.
No, I guarantee that still happens, and that still happens, period.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
not necessarily in the middle of a modern city, but for
no,
sure.
but in small town America, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, to use it as a plot device in a fictional show that's supposed to be entertaining, it's lazy.
Useless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And not to mention that the entire mystery of whether or not it's Stephen Bonnet or Roger's baby is the dumbest, Maury Povich thing. Katie said that. Now it's in my head. Yeah. Katie Grace just said it on Twitter. But Chai Sports Gal also said she hated that plot device so much in the book. Was Diana expecting readers to gain some sort of nuanced, empathetic opinion about men raising non-biological children in a book about fucking time travelers?
Who said that? Because they're genius.
Chai Sports Gal.
Oh, love it.
Her name is Steph. 100%. Like what? Because Jamie's talking about Frank raising Bree, and then he's raising, John Gray's raising William, and Roger's gonna end up raising Stephen Bonnet's kid, maybe. And what is this? What is this thread she's trying to pull? Like, are men? What is going on?
Yeah. There's no. I mean, I know I've talked about this ad nauseum. There's no real story beyond Voyager, and then it's just,
it's
things that happen.
And yes, rich shit.
Yeah.
People wanted to talk about the rich shit. They're talking about the rich shit montage. Let's just talk about the best part of it and let's call it a night. What do we like?
There's so many montages.
I love that yarrow, lavender, thistle,
beautiful
chandelier hanging.
It's gonna be on Anthro. It's gonna be on Anthro in the spring. I can feel it.
God.
I can feel it.
Goals for my house.
And I did. When I was watching it last night, I tweeted that when they were in the Indian campfire, and he was telling the legends, and I was like, oh, Billy Black does a way better. Because in my head, that guy's voice was just off. I was like, Billy would have been a way better way. His
Way
voice is
better.
much, much happier to me.
Yeah, I guess we have to talk about the Mohawk a bit, how their lack of acting ability.
But why are they dragging him behind?
Right.
And they
And you
bought
said that in
these
your
people.
recap.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
They should have him on a horse or a mule or something.
It's a very bad investment.
Well, even Ian put him on the
Very
back of
bad
a horse.
investment.
I mean, and they beat the shit out of him.
And we see him walking through the woods for so long. Think about all of the things that we are not seeing or how condensed certain things are. Like the fact that everything in Wilmington takes place within 24 hours, right? From meeting Jamie and Claire all the way back to, Fergus and Marsley. All of that is in 24 hours worth of time. And yet we're spending all of these minutes on screen of Roger walking through the woods, stumbling through the woods behind a horse.
Which was apparently a week's worth of time.
Right.
They're like, oh, they're a week ahead of us. But
it goes
like the
back
sex
to
scene.
they love doing this, like Claire stumbling through the jungle.
Yeah.
Bree stumbling through Scotland. Like they just love to waste storytelling time showing us that they're going a long distance. There are ways to do this.
It's so frustrating, and I hate to go back to the as a reader thing, but I feel like the readers, we're going to be watching the show too. We appreciate the show for what it is, but it's like they think we're all stupid. They think we just are not going to catch on to things, or we're not going to figure things out or catch on to timelines. It's like, no, we understand what's happening and why you got to screw it up.
I mean, I wonder if we've said that a lot, that they think the audience is dumb. They spoon feed things. They give us things that we don't need. I wonder if also it's less that and more they're dumb.
They're dumb. They're not. Yes. Not everybody can be great at what they do. There's got to be mediocre television and this all in there.
So it's not you, it's me. Or it's not me, it's you.
I mean, if you think about it, Katrina has been nominated 4 times for a Golden Globe. I don't know I think she's been nominated for an Emmy, but I'm not sure about that.
I think so, yeah.
Somebody will tell me.
And some BAFTAs.
The show has not been nominated in a single show running, writing, directing category in those 4 years. Not once.
I think they won a BAFTA for music, didn't they?
Maybe.
Well, they should. I mean, the music, Bear McCreary is amazing.
Well, I hate Bree and Roger's theme. It's stupid. But I love the ridge shit theme is wonderful. Every time they're on the ridge and it's sweeping, and I'm like, yes, I like that one.
The more we get into the season, the more I hate the opening.
Me too.
Song. It just gets yarnier and dumber. I only like that open chord at the end.
That harmony at the end is killing me every time. He's overpowering her melody. It's driving me crazy. Guys, no, they haven't won. They haven't been nominated for anything.
No.
Something about the fact that the show is not well written and it's not directed well. There's nothing for anybody to praise except Katrina and Sam's performances. That's it. And Tobias's performance, because he's been nominated too. That's it. So it's problematic. It's not great. And the things that we love, here's the thing. The things that we love and that are awesome, that are well written, are taken straight from the book. So as problematic as the book is, the things that end up being really powerful are the things that Diana did well. Jamie and Claire's reunion, Jamie and Bree's reunion, Claire finding out that Bree is pregnant. And I love the scene in this one where Claire talks to her about whether or not she has to keep the baby, which felt like it was better than it was in the book. But again, not winning any writing awards. There's nothing in it that's surprising me. Nothing is like thematically good. It's just a good conversation between a mother and a daughter. It's a decent conversation for them to have written, but it's not necessarily compelling television. Is it good to see somebody who in the 60s, is unafraid of the mores of the era or whatever. And is like, yeah, we'll get rid of this baby. I don't care if that's what you want to do. Yeah, that's great. But it's not particularly compelling. It's not like a really good, well-written show. I'm not surprised. I'm not excited. I'm not seeing like threads go from one episode to another. It's just not good. So there is a happy medium between writing the things that Diana wrote, the dialogue and the way certain scenes are put up, and those being good, and then adapting what Diana wrote and taking out the things that are horrible or that are horrible plot devices or that we see over and over again and do us no good. And they just have never had a good way to do that. The first season, they were capable of just throwing everything out there because they had so many episodes to deal with and a much smaller book. But they're not keeping that thread. It's not going all the way through every season. So I'm losing what I'm saying here, guys. So.
And Nikki already left because she has to be.
Whiskey.
Jenny B just said she thinks she wants to watch season 1 again. And that was in response to Jana's tweet that was just a GIF of Jamie taking his shirt off in season 1.
Right. And Joni DP on YouTube said season 1 writing was so good. And Nikki just rewatched some things. So
yeah.
Well, and I think I said it the last time we had a Hangoutlander that I'm rewatching season 2 with my friend. And I remember when we went through season 2, we were like, oh, why this and that? And then after watching this season, I'm like, season 2 is the best. Like it doesn't seem as horrible watching it the second time around, watching season 4 at the same time.
I think that there is
plus Stanley Weber.
Yeah. I think it is easier to watch them in quick succession. And when you're not dissecting them afterwards, that makes it more enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've done that a couple of times. I've watched some of season 1. It's been a long time, and it is more enjoyable. And I think that every season feels subsequently not as good as the season before it because we're dissecting it right now. We don't necessarily know where it's going, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, season 3 is definitely the worst. It just is. Season 3 is not great. But there have been episodes in this season that we have loved and that have done things really, really well. So it's, again, a crapshoot. They're just things that they continually just aren't, the bar is not as high as it should be.
Well, essentially, it's a show about time travel in which the time travelers have decided they can do nothing to change history. So then what is the fucking point?
Because they keep trying unsuccessfully.
But like, even with the whole issue with the fire, Jamie's like, oh, we've been proven time and time again we can't change history. And I'm like, you could have easily changed history in season 2 by putting a bullet in Bonnie Prince Charlie's fucking face.
Yeah.
Like, easy peasy.
Yeah. And this one, she even says, she's like, we can just make sure we're not home every Sunday in January,
Right.
or
It's
whatever.
a good excuse for a holiday.
Right. Yeah, you could. Why are you acting like that's silly? Don't be home then. You'll be fine. It's the whole thing is silly. Like the fact that they don't take that kind of stuff seriously, the fact that they don't take where they live and the time frame that it is seriously, the fact that she met George Washington and they haven't had a serious conversation about the American Revolution that's coming in like 5 years and where they live in conjunction with that is really stupid.
Well, also kind of Diana wrote the book in subsequent books all about the kind of the upcomingness to it with all the regulator stuff, but no one gives a shit about the North Carolina regulators.
I don't even know what they are. Never heard of them.
Unless Jamie is involved, we don't really care about the regulators.
Right.
Yeah.
And he better be involved soon or the storyline is for naught.
Yeah, I need him to be involved in that. I need to care. I need to care about it that. Like, I want to care about the American Revolution. I want to know that, like, Jamie Fraser did something super heroic and helped us win the war. That would be fun. But I don't want a bunch of people getting raped between now and then.
Well, like Creedy says, the writers need to be saved from their own ideas. They think they're smarter than they actually are, but they need a decent showrunner to steer the story in the right direction. And part of the problem is they keep getting feedback from publications like Entertainment Weekly that blow tobacco smoke up their asshole to make them think that they're doing a good job.
Ad money.
Speaking of Entertainment Weekly,
You can win one.
copies of the September issue or whatever the fuck, who cares?
Frame them for your
Tote
home.
bag, as well as the actual only thing you care about, the Jamf luggage tag. Are we ready to do this?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if you really don't like, if you don't want it, I mean,
Let us know. This is a great prize. Beth wants it.
I do want it.
So do I.
Although
I
I
saw
have
that.
one with my own initials on it.
I feel like y'all can
I
easily
know.
get it on Etsy.
What?
I feel like you can easily get that on Etsy.
It
Well,
says
we got-
Outlander stars on the other. She hasn't shown you the other side.
Oh.
Can't get that shit.
It says Outlander stars on the
Yeah,
other
you-
side. So
All right. Who wants to announce our winner?
it's exclusive. I will.
Okay, announce it.
Do
Our
it.
winner by random choice, actually, we voted in the chat while we were still talking, is Honey Lips Fraser.
Yay!
You win our big swag tonight because you make us crack up every week. You're here every week. We love you. You crack us up. You're the horniest TN commenter and reader that we have, and you deserve it. You deserve that Entertainment Weekly with Sam on the front to do whatever you want to do with it.
So email us at admin@thats-normal.com, please, or DM us, but probably email us, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
With your real name and your address. And we'll send this out to you. Congrats.
And thank you for being part every week. Everyone else, show up next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're done talking. I mean, I realized we didn't talk a whole lot about 410 because a lot happened.
There's not a lot to talk about.
But, you know, we were on for a while. It was almost 2 hours, so
I'm still drunk.
tired. So Hangoutlander next week, I guess, you guys. Although this mega Hangoutlander gives us a couple weeks of not having to do Hangoutlander.
I don't want to do a mega. Mega's hard.
It's hard. It was hard because I forgot what happened.
I know.
Go
And then I
back and
had to
watch.
rewatch shit I didn't want to rewatch.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it. I don't have time.
But we love that you guys are with us, and keep commenting using the hashtag Hangoutlander, and we'll talk about some of that next time for 411. So I guess that's it, guys.
Thanks.
Good night from Mega
take my-
Hangoutlander.
Take my breath out. No.
Thanks to Katrina for our style
Yeah.
inspiration for
Our
tonight.
cosplay.
Yeah. Did anyone say anything on YouTube? Because
Yes.
nothing on Twitter.
Oh, right
Okay.
away. Right away. People
Okay,
got it.
good. We got
A
it.
bunch of people.
Yeah. And Candace
Great.
said there's nothing to talk about in 410, so she was totally fine with us not talking about it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Candace.
I'm glad we
Like
hit
it.
the major points. We got it. We're good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We will see you next week. Good night.